Hello everyone. Today is going to be our first video talking about Procreate using the iPad 12.9. You can of course use any iPad that you have available, and the software that I'm using is called Procreate. It's available on the iPad on the Apple store. It costs about like $13 approximately, I guess, and it's pretty very cheap price in compared to the big options and variants when it comes to brush and pencils that this software offers. So today is going to be like rough overview introducing the software, what this software includes and what this offers us, and how the user interface looks like, and so on. So the user interface is actually pretty easy. So you can, as you see here, you can control your drawing or your image with your fingers, like zoom in, zoom out as any image. And of course, it's also recommended to have this Apple Pencil, which is actually great when it comes to pressures and intensity of this pencil. It's actually quite surprising what this pencil offers, because it's kind of like really almost like real pen. So as you see here, let me just show you a few examples. Like, for example, you can draw this kind of scene, or maybe like kind of abstract this kind of content, or maybe you can draw like coal material or coal pencil, and this is also available. You can also get kind of like oil painting effects or brushes, or you can create this kind of like very smooth and nice effect, as well as for this kind of like effects or waves and this kind of noisy random, as you see here, brushes. So it's quite surprising what this software offers actually, and it is actually for both, for beginner as much as for advanced people as well, of course. So the user interface is pretty easy. So once you open the software, it looks pretty much like that. Then you have like a plus button here. Once you hit it, you kind of have several options, several canvas sizes that you can choose from, like either 4K or A4 or comic paper or face paint, and so on and so on. And each one of these has like specific sizes, pixel sizes, and you can also customize your image by hitting this very small plus, and you can here type how many pixels you want, like for example 2000 with 2000 pixels, then create. Once you do that, as you see, now we have 2000 pixel image. Of course, you can also control the background of it by going to this button, which actually shows you the layers that are available in your drawing. And when you choose this background color, you can easily change it to the color, to the desired color that you want, as you see here. And this is the eraser. Like if you draw something, you can easily erase it, and the eraser itself has also way too many options that offers you, which actually gives you way too many options to really get creative and create anything you want. Like for example, if we choose like this pencil. So as you see now, I'm just like randomly creating lines, and this bar actually controls the size of your brush, as you see. So if I reduce it, it gets smaller and smaller, and this controls actually the opacity or translucency of your pencil. So as you see now, it gets it gets really way too transparent, and the opposite is actually the same. So if I increase it, it gets really dark, as you see here. And of course you can easily change the pencil color as well, maybe red or yellow or anything you want, and it will automatically change accordingly based on the color you choose. What's also great about this application is once you draw something, like for example, let's say we draw like this box, okay, very simple. So once you have it, you can go to this arrow. If you hit it, you can actually, as you see, scale it up or down. Let me change the background color a little bit, maybe this way, and create another layer with different color, like white, because the white background was causing some exposure that we can avoid for the sake of this video. So as you see now, I create this very simple box. If I go to the left side here and select this arrow, you can actually scale it up or down, as you see, and even move it. This is actually a great option when it comes to digital drawing, because in compared to real drawing, it's quite different. Because a real drawing, once you draw something, then the only way of moving it or adjusting it is actually to erase it, delete it, and redraw it again. But when it comes to digital drawing, it's quite different. So it offers you more options, because that's why it's called digital, right? And this arrow allows you not only to up or down scale it, but also if I move it down here, this menu pops up that actually allows you to choose from uniform, which is upscale or downscale, freedom, which is actually you can scale it on the X or Y axis, like either so or so. You can destroy it by like upscale it from different angle, like certain angle, like for example this one, or this one, or this one, or the top one. It's quite amazing what this offers. And even wrap as well. Wrap is like if you decided like, okay, your box looks nice, but this needs to be a little bit smoother, this corner, you go to wrap, and as you see now it controls it in a very, very softened way. And it's pretty amazing, because sometimes, as you see here, sometimes we need to adjust our shape even after drawing it. And yeah, this gives you this option easily. So when we go down, we can also flip it horizontal and vertical, rotate it as well, as you see. You can also rotate it manually using this green button, as you see here. So either way. And yeah, there are also some other options, but they are pretty much advanced for now. So we are going to focus only on the basic and the main menus that you are going to use in this software. So what this also offers, so if I go to the second button, which is actually this one, what this does is actually, as you see here, it allows us to create shapes based on the default shapes. Like for example, this oval, it's white because I'm choosing white. But if I want to create like a white, like a red one, I change the color here. Then I simply, as you see, now I have, let me create a new color by hitting this button, okay, and go there and create this, then selecting this arrow. Now as you see, now we have very nice oval that we can actually create, and we can control any way you want. And you can either we will come to that afterwards. But yeah, it not only offers you this shape, but also rectangle as well. And sorry, it also offers you different shapes, like for example, rectangle, or freehand, like you can, for example, like this kind of shape, and you hit add. Now you kind of like created this shape. Sometimes you need very random shape, like not rectangle or circle or anything of that. And again, you can easily now control it or destroy it, as you see here, any way you want. So it's pretty much handy and very convenient to use. And yeah, it actually offers you way too many options here. So moving on to the next one, which is like, for example, let's assume we created this rectangle. Oh, sorry, we created this rectangle. Yeah, so now we want to adjust it. If we go there to this one, like a magic wand, so if we hit it now, as you see, we have way too many options. We have hue and saturation, brightness, color balance, curves, gradient map, motion blur, and so on. Each one of these offers you way too many options, actually way too many things. Like for example, if I go to saturation, this actually gives you the control over the colors. Like for example, I can saturate it, as you see here. I can increase, sorry, this is the brightness. I can increase or decrease the brightness. I can saturate it by reducing the color, the red color from it. As you see, it turned to be gray if I hit, like if I select 0. And if I go to the other way, it adds more red or more color. Hue, it changes the color completely, as you see here, because you are changing now manually the color range of this shape. Like if I go there or there, as you see, it changed accordingly real time. So color balance, it's kind of similar to hue, but it gives you even more control over the colors, like in even more details when it comes like cyan or magenta or yellow, for example, because these are the 3 main base colors that we have when it comes to coloring, or color management. And this option gives you actually more control over your color. Curves is actually, as you see here, it just adds more brightness or darkness into different channel of your color, like gamma or red or green or blue. Yeah, because each color has several colors combined in them. We will not deep dive into too much details in this session, because as I said before, we are going to talk only about the basic of this software. But this is what curves does actually. Like if I select red and go down, as you see, it's kind of like adding more red into this red color, and so on. Yeah, so Gaussian blur is actually, as you see here, it's very helpful, especially if you are drawing like yeah, anything that you need to really have this kind of smooth gradient into it. So once you select it, yeah, let me just repeat it. So once you select it, nothing appears, but it actually, you can now control it by either going right, it will be way too much, or down. Let me just show you here what's happening. Do you see this bar? It actually changes accordingly. And this is pretty much handy for drawing sometimes like gradient or maybe or maybe clouds, or any kind of things that needs to have a gradient into it. Next one is noise. This also adds some noise, as you see here. And the noise also have different shapes, like for example, billows or clouds and so on. This is needed like only for special cases, if you are drawing, or if you are shading or coloring like stones or any kind of these things. Sharpness is actually if your image is not sharp enough, it just adds more sharpness into it. But here we will not see any effect because we have just simple color. But if you have an image where like you have several components in your image, you will definitely start to see some sharpness. And the more you move to the right, as you see here, the bar is moving right with my hand, the more sharpness, the more sharp your image will get, and so on. Yeah, so bloom as well, it adds also some plume effect, but we will not see an effect here because plume is like the effect that is usually generated, physically speaking, by the sun. So once the sun hits surfaces, you kind of like see this kind of like plume effect. It's kind of like highlights coming. It's especially if like in a sunny day and the sun is hitting in the window, you can see that the window gets really bright, and this is actually what we call, physically speaking, pluming effect. Yeah, we can present that afterwards in the upcoming sessions, but today it's just like about giving an overview. So the last option that we have in our main user interface is actually this button. Once you hit it, it actually allows you to either export your drawing in kind of like a video time lapse, and this time lapse you can either export it as full length or 30-second, like compressed, and the time lapse looks like that. Is actually exactly what we did, as you see here, right from the beginning of this session. It actually, which is really great option or great feature in this application, it automatically, without doing anything, records every action, every move you do in your drawing. So as you see here, if I go to this button and select time lapse replay, as you see, as you see, it automatically records everything we have done. So this is great because sometimes you want to draw something and you want to post that or publish that into YouTube or any kind of platforms with a kind of like time-lapse video to show people how it's done from A to Z. Yeah, and this is a great feature actually. And you can also turn it off, by the way. So by default it's on, but you can actually turn it off. Yeah, and it asks you actually if you really want to turn it off or not. I usually have it always on because I like to record time lapse and so on. So going back to this window, so this user interface or these buttons, we didn't talk about this plus. So once you select layers, this plus, actually you can add as many layers as you want. And the way of deleting or locking a layer, you can just like move it to the left, either with your pencil or with your finger is okay. So once you move it to the left, you can see delete, duplicate, or lock. So if you want to delete it, you can just like move it to the left and hit delete. And yeah, so this is the layer of this, our rectangle. So let me just move it a little bit. Oh, sorry. Make it bigger a little bit. So this very small field, like tick, as you see here, it makes it either visible or invisible. And this N, yeah, we need to talk about it. So this N, once you select it, first it offers you the option, or it gives you the option to control the translucency. as you see here, translucency is like the opacity of this. Like for example, if I duplicate this, yeah, and let me just put it below it. So if you hold this one as the layer, you can now move it as well. So we also didn't cover that. So the way of doing it, I just hold it for like 1 second or 2 seconds. Now I can move it, as you see, lower or upper. So if I wanna make this layer below this one, I just move it below it, and let me change the color of it. Yeah, so the way of changing the color, there are several ways, but the most convenient way is actually you hit the color, but the color icon here, you choose the color that you want, you close it, and you, as you see here, you just drag and drop your colors. As you see here, I can control it now on the shape that you want to colorize. Once you do that, as you see here, it changes automatically, like white, for example, and so on. So translucency or opacity, that's why I duplicate this one, because I wanted to show you. Once you reduce it, as you see here, now we can see the rectangle behind this red one, because we are reducing the opacity. And this is very much handy when it comes to like a brochure design or visiting card or poster, anything, actually anything, because opacity sometimes is needed, and this is a great feature that actually gives you that. There are also modes of this layer that we can also control, especially if you are familiar with Photoshop. If you aren't, it's okay, and I'm gonna explain these. But each image has a mode. So mode means like kind of like type, and this N stands for normal. Normal is like the default. But if I go to darken, as you see, it gets darker and it starts to show what's behind. Color burn, the color is really like gets much darker, because the name indicates what this feature does, which is actually burn the color. Linear burn, darken burn, color, lighten is like makes it lighter, and so on. I recommend you to play with these to figure out what each one of these does. And yeah, because sometimes we just need like to have this kind of effect, okay, like for a certain reason. It depends on on your need, or what exactly are you drawing, you know. But yeah, the best way of getting familiar with these modes is actually just play around with these and see what each one does. Yeah. What else? Let's say we want to erase or remove a little bit of this rectangle. Let me just hide the white one, because our main one is the red one for now. So once you select the eraser or this icon, it, as you see here, it offers you way too many eraser shapes. Like for example, if I select the first one, you will definitely see now what this does. See, it automatically, like, it removes from my shape based on the brush that I chose. The same as for this one, see, and the same as, let me just check this one, okay, dry brush. See, it's really great because it offers you way too many options, and it's pretty much handy, you know. And even the eraser, you can also control the opacity of it. As you see here, the opacity, if I reduce it, as you see now, it's removing not too much, like a little bit less. And even the size, see, or the bigger, and so on. So I recommend you just to play around with these, because each one of these has certain purpose to use. And yeah, the more you use them, the more familiar you get with them, and you know better which one to use for your specific needs or your specific drawing. And of course, the pen offers you, the Apple Pencil pen offers you also this pressure options. Like for example, it actually interacts and reacts as if it's like a real pen or real pencil, which means if I really press now and draw or erase, as you see, it's removing almost everything. But if I release like my pressure, as you see, it's not really removing too much. The great thing about it is actually it interacts and reacts to your hand pressure exactly, or very, very close. The accuracy is actually unbelievable, because they really made a great job of creating this pencil. It reacts and reacts to your hand pressure almost the same as if it's real pen. So as you see here, like I'm starting very, very slightly and increasing the pressure more and more and more. See? So the same goes for, so the brushes, there are way too many. So we, of course, for the sake of the time, we are not going to go through all of them because there are way too many. But as you see, the categories are pretty much self-explained. So we have sketching. It gives you like HB pencil or B6, 6B pencil, or Procreate pencil. This is the default one. If you go to inking, it actually gives you this kind of thing. Like, let me just increase it. See, it's kind of like ink brush kind of feeling, and even the ink has way too many variants, as you see here. So it's really, really amazing what this software offers, because it can do almost everything. So if you go to drawing, you will have also different brushes as well. See, also reducing the opacity, it gives you this kind of feeling. Increasing the opacity, it gives you like almost black brush, and so on. So this is different. This is different brush. And yeah, painting, it actually offers you the real life, realistic paintings, brushes, sorry. For example, like if we go to dry brush, it gives you this kind of feeling that if as if you were really dry painting with the dry brush. As you see, it's really, really accurate. If you go to old brush, like as you see here, it gives you this kind of feeling that you are drawing with an old brush. You can also choose oil painting, which is, in my opinion, one of the most like greatest feature. As you see, it looks like oil painting, and what's great about it is actually, which is really unbelievable, as you see here, I am kind of, if I go like again over again, it actually takes the color, the red color, as you see, notice here, as you notice here, it takes the red color from the background and mix it together with the green color that I chose here, which is, physically speaking, very, very accurate, because oil painting actually works this way. As you see here, like for example, if I change now the color to pink, now as you see, it not only draws pink, but actually mix all of them together, which is really, really accurate. When we talk about, as you see here, when we talk about oil painting, because this is actually how oil painting works. And that's why I said from the very beginning, this software is really great, because it's unbelievable what they can do. So what you can do with it. The list goes on. As you see here, we have also watercolor. if we choose the watercolor, it gives you this kind of effect. Let me just make the background a little bit darker. Yeah, I think this is okay. Watercolor, as you see here, let me select white, for example. See, it actually also give you this kind of like watercolor brush feeling, and which you can control by controlling the size, the color, the opacity, and everything in it. So the list goes on. I recommend you, if you have the software. If you don't, I recommend you to get it, because it's really fun using it. And even if you are advanced and professional people, you can do really great job. So as you see here, like, let me just jump to another example. Like, this is the drawing that I did, again we also with the software, so you can clearly see now the time lapse. So sorry, it's too fast. So as you see here, I was also using pencils and oil painting, and yeah, so using that gives you this kind of great result, as you see. Let's see another example, maybe this one. This is the blooming effect, by the way, that I was talking about. So when the sun rises, and especially in the morning, yeah, you see this kind of like light or very strong highlights from the coming from the sun direction, and this is what we call the blooming effect. Yeah. Another example will be maybe this one. Here I used, as well as pencils, I used as you see here, clearly see the effects of the oil painting. Here I used for the clouds, as you see, I used different brushes, like for example this brush or this brush. You can switch always back and forth between different brushes to get the effect that you need. This is another example as well. As you see, I used here like normal brush with very hard pencil strokes, as you see. And for the background, I also used very big watercolor brush, which actually gives us like very nice effects. Yeah. So going back to our example, what's good about the eraser is you can also change the shape of your eraser, for example, to the watercolor. Yeah. And you can start actually now, as you see, erase based on the shape of the eraser that you chose here, which is the watercolor. Yeah. This hand or this finger, as you see here, this one is actually what this does is pretty much simple. Is actually, if you were using your finger and smudging, creating smudges on your pencil in your painting, like if I choose it now and do this, you will see. Let me just increase it. See, it just blur everything, and it creates exactly the same effect as if you were like really putting your finger and smudging your real painting. If it's a watercolor or oil painting or a pencil, doesn't matter. So it gives you this effect, and this is actually what this does. It just like blur everything. And even this hand or finger, you can control the shape of this smudgeness, as you see here. So it's really great because yeah, you can create unlimited options for when it comes to brushes, colors, and so on. So you can literally create unlimited options that you can imagine. as you see here. So did we cover everything? So as you see here, if I go to brushes as well, there is also one very important point I want to mention. So once you open the brush here, as you see, we have several brushes, right? If you select one, just one click, it actually opens, as you see here, opens the specs of this brush, which you can, as you see, control and change based on your need. Like, for example, spacing, or maybe sharpness, or maybe make it thinner or thicker. But there is one recommendation I'll give you here. These brushes are the default by the application. So if you wanna change the brush and like experimenting with this, I highly recommend you to actually sweep to the left, as you see, and hit duplicate. The one you duplicated, I recommend you to change. You can change it as much as you want and hit OK, done. Then it will be changed. Why? Because even for advanced people, I wouldn't really recommend to mess up and change the details of these brushes that come by default with the software, because they work great and we have to avoid messing up with these brushes. So if you want to change or experiment this, I highly recommend you to duplicate your brushes by sweeping to the left and hit duplicate. It will be duplicated, then you can change it as much as you want, and you can also delete it as well. Be careful to not delete or any existing one, which you cannot do, as you see here. So this is default one. I cannot really delete it, which is a great option or feature that they added, because you can easily, if so, you can easily delete it by mistake, and this needs to be avoided. So let's take a very simple example. Yeah, let's say we want to draw a rock, like very simple rock. Okay, so let's go with, for example, gray color or half gray. I'm gonna go to sketching, then I'm gonna take HB. It's called HB pencil, and it's actually accurate to the real HB that we use, like the real one. Yeah, so let's say we want to draw a rock which goes this way. So before starting anything, I go to layer and add a new layer. You can actually also rename it by clicking one click on this layer name and select rename. And now you can rename it as much as you want, as you see here, like for example A, then hit OK, then it will be renamed accordingly. So now we selected this HB pencil. So let's say we wanna draw like very simple rock, okay? Like for example, it goes this way. I'm drawing just like from my imagination, okay? Just like very simple for the sake of this tutorial. Yeah, so now we have the basic shape of our stones or rocks, sorry. As you see here. So now I can add another layer, go to brushes and go to painting and choose any brush that you really feel it might give you this kind of like feeling, rock feeling. So I chose this one, gouache, which is actually accurate to the gouache material or gouache colors, if you are familiar with these. So I start very simple with not too much pressure, okay? Not too much pressure, just tiny bits, okay? All over these rocks. And let's say our light is coming from this direction. Sorry. Yeah, so this is the light. So it means these surfaces 1, 2, 3 are going to be bright and these are going to be dark. Yeah, we will not deep dive into details in this session, okay? Just like very simple example, just to show you how it works. So I selected the gouache again, which is like you can find by recent, which shows you the latest chosen brushes that you used. So once you select it, you can actually add another, sorry, we can reduce the size a little bit. Just tell it, just more tone, so another tone on top of it. Another tone on top of it, as well as this one. Maybe we can make it a little bit darker to get these shadows that we talked about. Sorry. As I said, we will not too much deep dive into details with this example because I'm just like showing you how it works, okay? Let me just change the background to completely black because this gray background is not helping us too much. Yeah, let's say it's black, okay? So now we can control the brush again, brush color, by making it a little bit darker. Maybe reduce the opacity if you still feel that it's not dark enough. It's all about layers, okay? And if you are willing to not damage, like if you are really let me rephrase this. So if you feel okay, it looks nice and you are a little bit afraid or like worried to damage your drawing, I recommend you to add another layer because this way nothing will go wrong, and draw on the new layer as well again. So reduce the size a little bit, maybe erase it just a tiny bit. I'm now using the eraser, by the way, so you can actually also use the eraser to create the effects that you need, not only brush, okay? So even the eraser gives you what you need if you know how to use it, and it's pretty much possible. The more you experiment with these, the more you will be able to really even come up with your own techniques, as I'm doing here. Like for example, I started randomly, like completely from my imagination, and as you see, we started to see some good results. Maybe I can change my pencil or brush a little bit. Let's see what we have. So maybe this one, stucco, it gives us something like rock. Maybe we can reduce the translucency or opacity, sorry. You can call it translucency as well, so it's up to you. See, it gives you this kind of like texture kind of feeling, you know? Maybe I can go to even oil painting, which is also not bad. So we can merge these colors a little bit together, as I'm doing now. And maybe again we go to sketching, and we choose P6 to add kind of like very hard strokes that are going to be really helpful in our case. Like for example, yeah, so this kind of effect, because it's also needed when it comes to drawing rocks. I would call it sketching. It's not real drawing, because we are not really taking care of the details for now. I'm just like randomly adding some more details for the sake of this session, just to give you an overview what this offers you and what you can do with it, with the software. It's all about layers, adding layers again and again. Maybe some shading a little bit. That gives us this feeling that actually the sun is really, or the light is coming from this direction. Yeah. And so on. Of course, I can keep adding the details more and more, but as I said, it's for the sake of our today's session, we are not going to do that. We're gonna stop like soon. But as you see, we started really having some very nice feeling for the rock that we were drawing, using different kinds of brushes, mixing all together and adding layers after layers, as you see here. It's not bad. It's really like a nice effect, and it's a nice looking rock. Not realistic, of course, because we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we can add as much details as we want. Like if, like for example, if we compare it to this one, yeah. So this is kind of like really a very simple painting that I drew, which represents waves, as if you are looking at it from the top view. And as you see, I clearly and obviously used way too many brushes, like for example this one, or this area, or these effects. You see these ones, or these ones, that gives you this feeling, you know, or this also that gives you this kind of like depth feeling. And if I now play the time lapse, you can clearly see that it's all about layers on top of each other, one after the other, and so on and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna just leave it played a little bit, or maybe I can speed it up a little bit because it's long. But as you see, you can clearly see how many brushes I used, and this actually gives us very nice looking waves. And I am able to even add more details. So that's why I said before, it's really unlimited what you can do with this software. You can literally do anything you want, because yeah, the feature that this software offers is just great. And yeah, you can really get creative with it. So the same goes with this example. So as you see, I start with very simple two colors, then I start adding very random waves using the oil painting brush, as you see here. Then adding more and more and more details, which automatically, the more details you add into your drawing, the more or the better it gets, and it starts to really build itself the more details you add. But I highly recommend you to actually, as you see here, as you can clearly see, I started with a very simple two colors to define first how my drawing is going to look like. So I decided to have a sea all over here, and here we are going to have our waves. Yeah, I didn't start with the very small details of the waves first, because this is going to be like complex, or like adding some more complexity on for your drawing. But if you start with a very simple, like breaking down your drawing into two, as you see here, into like very simple, or like simple areas to really understand where what is, then you, as you see here, you gradually add more and more and more and more details, as you can clearly see. What I mean by that, if I would have started with this very area or this very area, it would have been very difficult to really end up having good proportions and nice looking painting, because once you spend too much time on a very like one angle or one corner, like for example this one, and you forget about the others, it's gonna be really difficult to get all the whole painting in one mode, or one in one harmony, you know. That's why it's recommended to first start simple, breaking down your painting into different areas, simple areas. Then you start going up gradually to adding more and more and more details, as you can clearly see. And the same applies for actually everything I draw here. So if I select this one, let me represent to you, because this is really, really important. So if I go to the time lapse, as you see here, I started with like just putting the main proportions, where I have my stairs, where I have my trees, as you see here. Then I put very simple, like I used, or I highlighted my lines, as you see here, to really understand, give me the overview where what is. Then, as you see here, I started putting a really like big area, or the majority of the colors that I see here, which are like this black one and this orange and this green. Then after that, as you see here, I started gradually to add even more and more and more details. So you start from the biggest component in your drawing and moving up or down, yeah, to the smallest one, as you can clearly and obviously see here what's happening. More and more details gradually. And so on. Let's check another example. For example, let's take also these waves as well. It's pretty much similar to the last one, but I just want to prove to you and show you that it's really helpful to first start, as you see here. Let me just stop it for a second, with breaking down your painting into the most simple shape that you can imagine, which is actually in our example area 1, 2, and 3. Then as you see here, I started adding details more and more and more. And your painting, if you approach it this way and use this method, your painting start to automatically build itself, as you can clearly see, one by one, step by step. Let me just speed it up a little bit because it's long. Here we go. And brushes wise, as you can clearly see, I used way too many, like this kind of brush and this one and this one. They are way too different. And if you go to brush again, so it offers you any brush that you want. Oh, it's too big. As you see here, like this kind of like smudges or something similar. See, so using way too many brushes and merging all of them gives you very nice technique, and there is no written book about it, like brush 1 plus brush 2 gives you this effect. I wouldn't say so, because only by experimenting and experimenting and checking all of these, playing around with them, only this way you end up having very nice painting, and maybe you create your own technique, because there are several artists, digital artists, that they use Procreate or different software, but they end up creating and having their own personal technique, using these brushes, because as you see it just gives you unlimited options and possibilities that you can create. The same for this one as well. This is kind of sketch, very quick sketch for BMW steering wheel. And so on. Before closing our video, I would kindly ask you to support my channel, subscribe my channel as well, because this way it supports me and encourages me to create even more videos and continue talking about digital painting, because today is going to be it was only our first video in several videos that I am willing to make about digital painting, because digital painting is a very, very big area and very big field, and a lot of artists really do only digital painting because it just has way too many options and possibilities that you can do, either starting from sketching or coloring or painting or even graphic design, and so on. So you can seriously create unlimited things when it comes to digital, and all of that with this very simple iPad. And it doesn't matter if you have this iPad 12.9, which I believe is the biggest one on the market, or the smallest one, I think is 11 point something, a little bit smaller. So this software is going to be available for both and all Apple devices. Try it out, have fun, and I hope this video was helpful for you. And don't forget to subscribe my channel and like this video if it was helpful. And thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next session. And I'm gonna close with the time lapse of one of my favorite painting, which is actually this one.